I thought my 35th birthday would be a celebration. Instead, I watched as my wife Amanda gathered her entire family in our living room to present me with divorce papers. Surprise. I am leaving you for someone who is not a disappointment, she announced with a triumphant smile. Her father Thomas raised his glass. We never thought she would actually marry someone so beneath her. They had champagne, ready to celebrate my devastation. I smiled calmly, signed the papers, and walked out. Today, 6 months later, Amanda sleeps in her car outside my house, frantically texting, "Please answer." Before I tell you how my life completely transformed after that devastating birthday betrayal, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button to join our community of survivors who turned pain into power. I met Amanda at a friend's wedding 8 years ago. I was 35, then a software developer with dreams bigger than my bank account. She stood across the reception hall, captivating in a blue dress that matched her eyes. When she laughed, everyone around her seemed to light up. I never imagined someone like her would notice me, but when our eyes met, something electric passed between us. That night, we talked until the venue staff began stacking chairs around us. Amanda was not just stunning with her golden hair and perfect smile, she possessed a sharp wit that kept me on my toes. We debated everything from politics to pizza toppings. By the time I walked her to her car, I was already falling hard. What I did not fully understand then was the world of difference between us. Amanda Carson came from money, real money, the kind of wealth that spans generations and shapes expectations. Her father Thomas owned one of the most prestigious law firms in the city. Her mother Catherine descended from a family whose name appeared on buildings downtown. Her brother James worked in finance and made more money in bonuses than I earned annually. I grew up in a different reality. My father worked at an auto plant until it closed, then took whatever jobs he could find. My mother cleaned houses and office buildings. I worked every summer and weekend through high school, then juggled multiple jobs to put myself through state college. Every opportunity in my life came through hard work, not connections. The first time I met Amanda's family was at their country club. I wore the nicest clothes I owned and still felt underdressed. Thomas Carson shook my hand with a grip that tried to establish dominance while scanning me like I was a resume with questionable gaps. Catherine asked where I summered as a child. When I explained we took weekend trips to the lake when my parents could afford it, her smile tightened. James barely acknowledged me, more interested in networking with club members than meeting his sister's new boyfriend. Through it all, Amanda kept her hand in mine occasionally, squeezing it in silent support. She later assured me they would warm up once they got to know me. I believed her because I wanted to, because her kiss made me forget all the subtle digs and condescending glances. Our wedding 4 years ago was an elaborate affair at a historic estate, all paid for by her parents. During his toast, Thomas joked about Amanda always having expensive taste, her eyes falling on me with exaggerated confusion. The guests from his side laughed a little too hard. Her cousin whispered loudly enough for me to hear. Guess we know who got lucky in this relationship. Still, I was determined to prove myself worthy through success on my own terms. I poured myself into my career, working long hours designing software applications. I received promotions and respectable raises, bought us a nice home in a good neighborhood. But it was never quite enough for the Carsons. I did not have the right pedigree or connections. I did not belong to the right clubs. My ambitions were admirable, but ultimately pedestrian in their eyes. Amanda and I built what looked like a perfect life together. We traveled to Europe and the Caribbean. We hosted dinner parties with a mix of her society friends and my work colleagues. We discussed having children. From the outside, we appeared to be a golden couple, yet there was always an undercurrent, a subtle tension that surfaced during holidays with her family or events with their friends. Amanda would laugh a little too enthusiastically at stories about her ex Richard, who came from a banking family with a name as established as hers. When Thomas complained about the difficulties of finding good help for their summer home, Amanda would shoot me apologetic glances that grew less apologetic over time. About 6 months before my birthday, Richard returned to town after making millions in New York investment banking. Suddenly, his name appeared in every conversation. Did you hear Richard just closed a massive deal? Richard just bought the Peterson estate. Richard is on the board of the symphony now. I noticed changes in Amanda. She became secretive with her phone tilting the screen away when I entered the room. She started spending more evenings out with friends returning home with vague explanations and the lingering scent of expensive cologne. Her criticisms of my career grew more pointed. Why do not you network more aggressively? Have you thought about moving into management? When will your company go public? I tried addressing my concerns directly. Amanda dismissed them as insecurity. She accused me of being controlling when I asked about the late nights. She reminded me of all she had sacrificed to be with someone from my background. The word sacrificed hung between us long after those conversations ended. As my 35th birthday approached, I tried to remain optimistic. Perhaps this milestone would help us reconnect. I requested the day off work, hoping Amanda might plan something special for us. I woke on my birthday to an empty bed. Amanda had left a note saying she needed to prepare my surprise and would see me that evening. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe she had recognized the growing distance between us and planned something to bring us back together. I spent the day alone, checking my phone periodically. No messages from Amanda, no birthday wishes. Still, I remained optimistic about the evening ahead. When I pulled into our driveway that night, I noticed several cars parked along the street. My spirits lifted at the thought of a surprise party. Amanda had gone all out, inviting friends to celebrate with us. This would be the fresh start we needed. I opened our front door with a smile, expecting cheers and birthday decorations. Instead, I found Amanda's entire family assembled in our living room, all dressed formally as if for a business meeting. Thomas and Catherine sat on our sofa, backs straight and faces solemn. James stood by the fireplace with his wife Stephanie. Various aunts, uncles, and cousins filled the remaining space, all watching me with an unsettling intensity. There were no decorations, no cake, no wrapped presents. Just crystal champagne flutes arranged on the coffee table and several bottles chilling in ice buckets. Amanda stood in the center of the room wearing a designer dress I had never seen before. Her makeup was flawless, her hair perfectly styled. She looked beautiful and completely foreign to me. "I am so glad you are finally home, Morgan," she said with an odd formality. "I have something important to share with you on this special day." The room fell silent as Amanda approached me. She carried a manila folder that she clutched like a precious artifact. "For the past several months, I have been doing a lot of thinking about my life and what I truly need to be happy," she began, her voice steady and rehearsed. "I realize that I have been settling for a comfortable existence when I deserve extraordinary. I have finally found the courage to move on and pursue the life I was always meant to have." She held out the folder. "Happy birthday, Morgan. Inside are divorce papers. My gift to you is freedom from a marriage that has been holding both of us back." I stared at the folder, unable to process what was happening. The room seemed to tilt slightly. "Surprise," she continued, her voice rising theatrically. "I am leaving you for someone who is not a disappointment." Thomas let out a bark of laughter from the sofa. "We never thought she would actually marry someone so beneath her. But young love makes fools of even the brightest girls." Catherine nodded in agreement. It was just a phase she needed to get out of her system. "We are just glad she came to her senses before children complicated matters." Amanda did not contradict them. Instead, she smiled like she had just delivered wonderful news. I realized with sickening clarity that this entire scene had been planned as a spectacle, a public humiliation choreographed for maximum effect. I looked around the room, taking in each face. James smirked while texting someone, presumably sharing the unfolding drama in real time. Stephanie examined her manicure, bored by proceedings that did not directly involve her. Amanda's cousin Peter whispered to his wife, both of them watching me with the morbid curiosity of witnesses to a car accident. The truth hit me like a physical blow. Richard, that was who she meant. The champagne was not for my birthday, but to celebrate Amanda's return to someone her family deemed worthy. I felt as if I were watching the scene from outside my body. The pain was there, massive and overwhelming, but strangely distant. In that moment of absolute clarity, I saw everything I had refused to see for years. The contempt beneath the politeness. the conditions attached to their acceptance, the slow erosion of my self-respect as I tried to meet impossible standards. I could have shouted. I could have broken down. I could have begged Amanda to reconsider. Any of those reactions would have satisfied the audience gathered in my living room. They wanted drama and devastation. They wanted confirmation that I was exactly as small as they believed me to be. Instead, I made the decision that would change everything. I chose dignity. I took the folder from Amanda's hands. I opened it, scanned the papers inside, and walked calmly to the kitchen drawer where we kept pens. With everyone watching in confused silence, I signed my name on each marked line. I placed the folder on the coffee table between the champagne glasses. "Thank you for making this so clear," I said, my voice steadier than I ever could have imagined possible. "I deserve better than all of you." Without another word, I walked out of my own home. Behind me, I heard the pop of a champagne cork and surprised murmurs. They had expected tears pleading, perhaps even angry shouting. My quiet exit had denied them the show they came for. I drove to a hotel across town, numb with shock, but also experiencing a strange sense of freedom. In trying to destroy me, Amanda and her family had inadvertently set me free. The week after what I came to call the divorce ambush, I took time off work. I needed space to process what had happened and decide how to move forward. I rented a small furnished apartment, the kind of place Amanda would have considered beneath her dignity to even visit. My first practical step was finding a lawyer. I chose someone with no connections to the Carson family, a straightforward woman named Diana who specialized in high-conflict divorces. When I explained what had happened, she did not offer empty sympathy. Instead, she seemed impressed by my composure. "You know, most clients come in here emotional wrecks, especially after public humiliation like that," she remarked. "Your calm approach gives us an advantage. People who orchestrate cruel spectacles usually overplay their hand in negotiations too." She was right. At our first mediation session, Amanda arrived flanked by Richard and her father, both seemingly there for intimidation. Thomas had arranged for one of his firm's senior partners to represent Amanda. They entered with the confidence of people accustomed to getting their way. Their strategy was transparent. Drag out the process, use their resources to exhaust mine, and force me to accept unfavorable terms. Diana saw through it immediately and advised a different approach. "I want out cleanly and quickly," I told her. "I do not want a prolonged battle. I just want what is fair." We focused on documenting my contributions to our marriage and joint assets. We gathered evidence of my career trajectory and financial responsibility. When Thomas tried to characterize me as an opportunist who had latched onto his daughter for financial gain, Diana presented records showing I had actually subsidized our lifestyle while Amanda spent lavishly. Throughout the proceedings, I maintained a policy of zero contact with Amanda outside of necessary legal communications. I changed my phone number, email address, and social media accounts. I declined invitations to events where she might be present. I needed a clean break to rebuild. This detachment seemed to unsettle Amanda. She had expected me to fight for her, to beg for reconciliation. My silence denied her the ego boost of rejecting me a second time. During this period, I reconnected with friends I had gradually lost touch with during my marriage. My best friend Jake invited me for beers one night and revealed uncomfortable truths. "Man, we barely saw you these past few years," he said. "Amanda always had some excuse why you could not make it to stuff. When you did show up, she controlled the whole conversation, decided when you would leave. She kept you on a tight leash, and we all saw it, except you." Jake's words forced me to confront how much of myself I had surrendered in my marriage. I had become so focused on proving my worth to Amanda and her family that I had lost sight of who I actually was. I had been performing a role rather than living authentically. With this realization came the decision to focus entirely on rebuilding myself. I started therapy sessions with a counselor who specialized in recovery from manipulative relationships. I resumed rock climbing, a hobby I had abandoned because Amanda found it pointless and dangerous. I reconnected with my own family, whose warmth and unconditional support highlighted everything that had been missing with the Carsons. 3 months into this personal renaissance, an unexpected opportunity appeared. A former colleague reached out about joining a tech startup focused on developing security applications for financial institutions. They needed someone with my expertise and offered a senior position with equity in the company. It meant taking a risk. The base salary was less than I currently earned, and startups were inherently uncertain, but the potential upside was significant, and the work aligned perfectly with my interests. Most importantly, it represented a choice made solely for myself, without considering how it would look to Amanda's family. I took the job and threw myself into the work with renewed passion. Our team was small, but incredibly talented and dedicated. I found myself energized in a way I had not felt in years, staying late, not from obligation, but genuine excitement about what we were creating. The universe has a sense of irony. Just as I stopped trying to impress the Carsons, our startup secured major investment after a successful product demonstration. Suddenly, my equity had real value. The media coverage of our funding round included my name and photo as a key team member. While my professional life flourished, I also focused on personal growth. I returned to the gym, shedding the stress weight that had accumulated during my marriage. I took cooking classes, learning to prepare meals I actually enjoyed rather than the pretentious cuisine Amanda preferred for entertaining her friends. I rediscovered old interests and developed new ones. Throughout this transformation, news occasionally filtered back through mutual acquaintances. Amanda and Richard's relationship had hit rocky patches. His investment business faced regulatory scrutiny. Rumors circulated about mounting debt hidden beneath his lavish lifestyle. 6 weeks after our divorce finalized, Amanda texted me from a new number. "Just wanted to check how you are doing. We should grab coffee sometime." The casual tone, as if nothing had happened, was breathtaking in its audacity. I did not respond. My silence apparently bothered her more than any angry retort could have. The texts continued, growing more frequent and less casual. "I heard about your company's success. Always knew you had potential." Then later, "Richard and I are taking some time apart. Been thinking about us a lot lately." I maintained my boundaries, focusing instead on the exciting developments in my own life. Our startup received an acquisition offer from a major tech company that none of us could refuse. The buyout made me wealthy beyond anything I had imagined possible a year earlier. With my newfound financial security, I purchased a home in an exclusive neighborhood. By complete coincidence, it was just blocks away from Amanda's parents. I chose it for the excellent location and privacy, not any desire for proximity to the Carsons. The real estate closing made the local business news. 2 weeks later, I ran into Thomas at an upscale restaurant where I was dining with tech industry leaders discussing future ventures. The shock on his face when he spotted me at the best table in the house, dressed in a custom suit, and clearly the center of attention, was a moment I will always treasure. He approached awkwardly, attempting to act as if he had always believed in my potential. I introduced him politely to my companions, then smoothly returned to our conversation, dismissing him as irrelevant. The flush of embarrassment on his face suggested he finally understood what it felt like to be deemed beneath notice. That same night, the text from Amanda escalated from casual to desperate. "I need to see you, please. We made a mistake. Call me." Within days, reports emerged that Richard's business had collapsed amid allegations of mismanagement and possible fraud. His carefully constructed image of success had been a house of cards. Amanda, who had tied her fortunes to his, now found herself associated with a very public failure. The final text came at midnight. "I will be outside your house tomorrow. Please just talk to me. I have nowhere else to go." 6 months to the day after that devastating birthday, I pulled into my driveway and spotted Amanda's car parked across the street. She was slumped against the driver's side window, apparently asleep. My phone showed 27 unread messages from her, ranging from apologetic to frantic. For a moment, I considered driving away. I owed her nothing after the humiliation she and her family had orchestrated. Yet something in me had shifted during these months of rebuilding. I no longer carried the burning pain of betrayal. In its place was a calm certainty about my own worth that no one could take from me. I parked and walked to her car. When I tapped the window, she startled awake. Without her usual perfect makeup and designer clothes, She looked vulnerable and exhausted. I gestured for her to roll down the window. "There is a cafe 2 blocks from here," I said. "Meet me there in 20 minutes if you want to talk." I did not wait for her response, but walked into my house. This would happen on my terms, or not at all. Amanda arrived at the cafe just as I did, her hair hastily pulled back, wearing jeans and a simple sweater. I barely recognized this disheveled version of the woman who had once spent an hour preparing to go to the grocery store. We sat at a corner table with our coffees. Amanda stared into her cup as if it might contain the words she needed. "Everything fell apart after you left," she finally said. "Richard was not who he pretended to be. His business was built on lies. He used my money, my connections, then disappeared when investigators started asking questions." Her voice cracked. "My parents blame me for the embarrassment. They say I should have stayed with you until I found someone better, someone properly vetted. They call me a failure." I watched her hands tremble around her cup. The woman who had stood so confidently presenting me with divorce papers now seemed hollowed out by consequences. "I made the biggest mistake of my life, Morgan," she whispered. "I threw away someone genuine for an illusion. I let my parents poison what we had because I was too weak to stand up to them. I thought Richard would give me the life I was raised to expect, but he took everything instead." She reached across the table for my hand. "I need another chance. We could start over, rebuild together. I know you still care about me, or you would not be here now." I gently withdrew my hand from her reach. "The truth is, Amanda, I do care about what happens to you. I would not wish suffering on anyone, even those who hurt me deliberately. But caring about your well-being is very different from wanting to resume our relationship." Her face crumpled. "But I love you. I always loved you, even when I convinced myself I did not." "I believe you think that now," I replied. "But love without respect is not really love at all. You and your family never truly respected me. When things got difficult, that fundamental truth revealed itself in the cruelest way possible." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I am so sorry. I was wrong. My family was wrong. You are worth 10 of Richard, 100 of him. I see that now." The sincerity in her voice touched me, but not in the way she hoped. I felt compassion for her pain, but also the absolute certainty that our paths had permanently diverged. "I forgive you, Amanda. Truly I do. That forgiveness is my gift to both of us. Holding on to anger would only keep me tied to the past, and my life is moving forward now." She wiped her eyes, hope flickering across her face. "But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation." I continued gently. "What happened between us showed me how much I was compromising myself to fit into your world. The person I have become these past 6 months is someone I genuinely like and respect. I will not risk losing him again." "You have changed," she said quietly. "Not changed so much as remembered who I always was beneath the desire to please you and your family." We talked for another hour. I listened as Amanda explained her current situation. Richard had left her with debt and damaged credit. Her parents had cut her off financially until she agreed to certain conditions, including dating only pre-approved men from their social circle. She had been sleeping in her car because she was too ashamed to accept their help on such terms. Despite everything, I found myself offering practical assistance. I knew a good financial advisor who could help her sort through the mess Richard had left. I suggested an attorney who specialized in cases where someone had been financially exploited by a partner. I even offered to connect her with a friend who needed a roommate, someone who would give her space to rebuild independently. As our conversation wound down, Amanda looked at me with new understanding. "You know what hurts the most," she said. "Seeing the amazing person you always were, the one I was too blind and insecure to appreciate. My parents made me believe I was lowering myself by being with you when the truth was exactly opposite." I smiled. "Then at least something valuable came from all this pain. You learned to see people more clearly, and I learned to value myself more honestly. Maybe that is the most either of us could hope for." When we parted outside the cafe, Amanda hugged me briefly. "I wish you every happiness, Morgan. You deserve it more than anyone I know." I watched her walk away, feeling an unexpected sense of completion. The chapter that had ended so painfully on my birthday was now truly closed. In the months that followed, I occasionally heard updates about Amanda. She had found a job at a small marketing firm, moved in with the roommate I had suggested, and started therapy. She was rebuilding her life from scratch without the safety net of family wealth or the shortcuts of strategic relationships. There was a dignity in her efforts that had never been present in her previous life of privilege. As for me, I continued to find fulfillment in my new career and relationships based on mutual respect rather than social advantage. The painful birthday that once seemed like the end of my world had actually been the beginning of a better one. What I learned through this journey was profound. Self-worth cannot be determined by others' opinions, no matter how confidently they express them. True character reveals itself during crisis, both your own and that of those around you. Sometimes losing everything you thought you wanted is the necessary path to finding what you truly need. Has anyone ever tried to humiliate you only for it to become the best thing that happened to you? Share your story in the comments below. If this journey of dignity and self-respect resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about turning life's lowest moments into opportunities for growth. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the people who try to break you are actually setting you free.